Excellent. Well, welcome. This is our first show. Welcome to the Mission Podcast. And I'm honored to have not only a friend, but my brother. We go way back. This man, David McPherson, wonderful human being. He is a financial coach, an advisor. He's an entrepreneur. He is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. This gentleman has been in the financial services industry for over 20 years, helping his clients and his business partners to achieve great amounts of success financially. He's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. I'm blessed and honored to have him here with us. And so should you be, because he's going to have a lot of good information for you. And he's a married, dedicated father of three, two sons and a daughter. Hey, Dave, if I mess up, just correct me. Two sons and a daughter. And, he's an avid athlete, basketball. He loves basketball, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, martial arts. He believes in fitness. And that's why he's still looking 20 years old right now. So, and I can tell you, he's not 20 because I'm 40 something and we came up together, so, but man, he looks the part and he is the real deal. Hey, Dave, thank you for joining me today, man.
Hey, my pleasure, man. I'm glad to be a part of the mission.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wanted to have you on because as Black men, but as men in general, but as Black men, and as Black people, a lot of times we don't get the financial education and understanding passed down to us that we should. Absolutely. And as I've grown and gotten to learn, I missed a lot of things. My mother did the best that she could, obviously, with the knowledge that she has, and she's doing very well now, by the way. But the point being is, I want to catch them early. And you being an expert, having your MBA, you being in this field for 20 years and helping multiple clients get there. I said, man, I got to have my brother on so he can help educate me and the people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, so jumping into it, one of my pet peeves, and one of the things is, we'll cover multiple things, but one of the things that bothers me is when I see, and this actually happened to a family member, when I see people online after a loved one has passed away, and they're doing GoFundMe pages.
Oh,
and man. Yeah, right.
You done struck a nerve, brother.
Yes, man. I chuckle, but it's serious. It's serious.
Yeah.
And so, man, life insurance, a lot of us don't have it and we don't understand the importance of it. So, speak to me on that, man. What's your thoughts on that? What do you advise?
Well, the one thing I do have to say is that GoFundMe, if I see another GoFundMe pop up, I promise you I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
What's unfortunate is when you think of life insurance, I'm going to take a few steps back to put context to it.
Yes, sir.
Life insurance is really just it should be a part of anybody's financial plan. Yeah. And when you consider a financial plan, all it is really just a plan for your finances.
Like that.
Because think about when in the good book it says that and I apologize if I misquoted, money without a master is directionless. It doesn't serve any purpose. So when you master money or you have a plan for your finances, you can accomplish quite a bit, whatever that bit may look like. And so when you look at the financial plan, the first thing you want to do is you want to build that financial house with the foundation of life insurance. Okay. And all life insurance supposed to be a means to provide a financial resource if you don't have sufficient savings set aside. Then from there, you build a savings plan. You also have a debt elimination plan if that's something that needs to be part of the consideration set. And also any financial goals that you want to shoot for, you got to have a plan. Right. And we notice, just even kids, they know if they want to do something, they're going to put a plan in place to get that thing done. Right. There's no different when it comes to your finances. So when we think of the financial plan, we think of a financial house. We think of the foundation being life insurance because, let's face it, in middle income America, especially in our community, more people tend not to have sufficient amount of savings than not. than the folks who do have. And so, again, you want to make sure you have that in place. And all life insurance it does provide an immediate financial resource in the event of that primary breadwinner pass away or any family member pass away, and it provides an immediate savings or financial resource to that family to, one, either maintain their quality of life. First, we bury the person, bury that loved one.
Yes.
You got to bury them in style if you can.
Yep.
And also just have the resources to maintain their quality of life or improve it, depending on, what the wishes are.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Hey, so I think one of the reasons that people don't have life insurance, and it's probably multiple, but it's because they're probably not going to spend the money to get an advisor because they may not have the money. However, they don't know where to start with life insurance, and it may be, mystical to them. They may feel like it's something that other people have. And so where would they start? I mean, price wise, how much are they looking at a month? And, where do you advise just basic getting started with something that can take care of your family for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, one of the things that I've found in working with families and individuals is that, life insurance is almost considered a taboo topic because you're talking about somebody dying.
Right.
And, we're very superstitious in our community. You start talking about death and people think they're going to die as soon as they leave your presence. But, here's the thing. As they say, what's inevitable is death and taxes.
Yes.
You're going to die and you're going to pay taxes. The thing is, okay, do you know when you're going to die? We don't know. No. So what we need to do is prepare for the unexpected. Okay. And be comfortable with the fact that, God forbid something happens, we have that immediate resource, the financial resource available for my family, for my loved ones, that they can continue on, and just maintain their quality of life.
Right.
And so in considering that, a couple factors need to be taken into consideration. One, just understanding the age at when someone decides to put a life insurance policy in place. Also, the cost. The cost is really dependent on age and health. So, so what I mean by that, the younger person is, the healthier they are, the less expensive that life insurance policy would be.
Got you.
Now, the other end of the spectrum, if they're a little bit older, if they're, in your age group, not mine, because I'm still 20.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So if they're a little older, now their risk of unfortunately dying is a lot higher. So insurance companies are going to charge accordingly because the risk is higher. Okay. You could be perfectly healthy, healthy human being, man or woman. And, again, you may get the best rate, but at a higher cost because of age, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the most important part is really considering that family's budget. Yeah. How much can they afford? Yeah. Some folks, especially with, the cost of living nowadays, inflation, just taking off on us.
Right.
Cost of goods are increasing. Gas price has increased.
Yep.
Just you name it, it's went up in price.
Yes.
And so with that, it's squeezing the wallet of a family. So again, they need to consider how much can I afford to put towards this, very important tool, financial tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important. You're exactly correct. It's almost like you can't afford not to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't. You definitely can't.
Yeah.
And then I always have conversation with folks, and the first thing I always tell them, I said, look, you're paying for health, you're paying for your car insurance. And basically, you want to be able to have something available if you're in an accident, if something goes wrong with your vehicle, you want to be able to call on that insurance company to write a check for a certain amount to take care of that thing.
Right.
That's going to happen. You have to have it.
Right.
The law makes you have car insurance.
Yes.
Okay. If you're a homeowner, you have to have homeowners insurance.
Right.
The banks are not going to let you take out a loan unless you have homeowners insurance.
Right.
So why not have insurance on the most important thing that pays for those two items?
Yes, man, that's 100%. The funny thing is, in those cases, like you said, the bank is going to make you have insurance on your house because it's on them. If something happens to your house and burns down, they're going to make you have that insurance. You know, when you buy a car, they're going to make you have that insurance because if something happens to that car, hey man, they got to get their money, right?
Absolutely.
So
100%.
And you know, one of the things that I often comment on is not only is life insurance good to help with your burial, right, and you know, other expenses that may pop up, but it can also be, and you mentioned this, a great tool to leave money behind and change your family's fortune. You know, if you get quiet as is kept, you know, I got a whole lot of life insurance. Don't tell my wife, but because I want to make sure.
I let my wife know we have insurance. You don't need to know how much.
You don't need. Just know you're gonna be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly,
when it's time. Yeah. But you know, one of my goals is that, heaven forbid, because we just don't know, something happens to me, that my house is paid off, my cars are paid off, my kids, anything that they need moving forward. My daughter decides to go to college, that's paid for. My wife, you know, she can't get a job, but she's got enough money to survive and live like she's living, you know, now, maybe even a little bit better. So, you know, I think people, if we just take time to think a little further than tomorrow or the next 5 minutes and do some planning and think about our others, the other people that you're leaving in a bind that actually have to do a GoFundMe page or have to call a friend or a cousin or family members to pull money together to bury you, you know, you shouldn't do that to your family.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, and to that point, one of the things that I always stress to clients, and even potential clients, you know, if they decide to work with me, one, when someone passes away, the grieving process is a bear. I mean, if you haven't been through it, or if your listeners haven't been through it, it's tough. You know, I've unfortunately have been in that process with, you know, both parents, grandparents, brother, you know, close friends, you know, literally, you know, guys that I've known for years that actually a couple months back spoke to a good friend of mine, got a call from a mutual friend. He passed away. He had an illness. He passed away a month ago.
Wow. Sorry to hear that, brother.
So, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, you know, that grieving process, it's tough. I mean, you know, you don't know how long you're going to be going through that grieving process, but then you have to worry about, is there enough money left? Is there enough money to pay the bills? Because the bill's going to keep coming.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
If you have debt, they're going to come collecting.
Yeah.
And they don't give you any reprieve.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Sadly.
So you don't, and I always tell families and folks, you don't want that you don't want that additional pressure after you're grieving your husband, your wife, a child, a aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a parent. You don't want that additional pressure. And the way to avoid it is to plan ahead, put a life insurance policy in place if it makes sense. Depending on what the financial resources is of that family, and you know, avoid having to go through that. Right.
100%. Hey, just as we wrap up on the life insurance topic, you know, what's a suggested amount? Let's just say, you know, someone 25 to 35, maybe 40. You know, what's minimally you think? And obviously, you don't know their life and their the way that they live. But you know, if you were just guiding people to say get some life insurance, I mean, what would you think?
Absolutely. So with that, you know, for a single person all the way to a person with family and an obligation, everyone should have a life insurance policy. Okay, obviously within reason, and then there's a couple of caveats in there. One, you know, first consider that there's two types of life insurance policies. There's cash value and term insurance. I always recommend, and experts recommend, term insurance because it's a lower cost, provides a larger benefit. Okay. And then there's other factors as to why term insurance is the best program to go with versus the cash value policy. But I always recommend term insurance. The other piece is when you consider the amounts. One, you obviously want to consider what would you like your estate or your financial resources what would you want it to do for a loved one?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a single person, you may have your parents. Hey, did you want to leave something for your parents or take care of, let's say pay off their home if they have a mortgage, or, did you want to leave something to a charity?
Yeah.
Or, hey, can we put something in place to bury you? Because money got to come from somewhere.
Somewhere. Yep.
So it's that, that's the easiest, easier thing to consider. So I always recommend first have enough to cover your any outstanding debt, and enough to cover any financial goals you were working towards, or if you want to take care of loved ones. The other end of the spectrum is have enough insurance in place to match your economic value to your family. And what I mean by that is, when we go out to work, we get a paycheck. That paycheck is valuable to the family. That's your economic value. The check you bring home, your family needs that to maintain their lifestyle or maintain their living.
Mm-hmm.
And as a rule of thumb, you want to have at least 10 times your annual salary,
like that,
if you want to, leave something that equates to your economic value to your family.
Yeah, man, that's real good information, Dave, man.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly appreciate that. I know a lot of people getting a lot out of that. So that's a good baseline for them to have. People, do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and look into life insurance if you don't have it. Dave just told you bare minimums and suggested ways to go about calculating that. So please get life insurance. Love yourself and love your family. That's a gift for them and you.
The ultimate love letter, by the way.
There you go. There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, so we're gonna go ahead and move on, Dave. One of the things you talked about is inflation, prices going up. And that also equates to, and I did read something today where it says, hey, the power of the dollar was going down, the US dollar, but now it's kind of stable. But to that effect, in order for us to keep up with inflation, it's not just enough to put your money in a savings account. We really need to be we need to be investing in the stock market. And a lot of people that look like you and I are not invested in the stock market, and a lot of people in general aren't.
That's true.
So let's talk about that. I mean, just stock market 101. What are your thoughts on stock market, people getting in it, and why it's important to explore that compound interest effect?
Yeah, absolutely. Albert Einstein, there's a saying, Albert Einstein once said, compound interest is one of the great wonders of the world. And basically what that means is the dollar that you invest earns interest, and then your interest earns interest.
Wow.
And then your interest earns interest, and it continues to compound until when you pull that money out of the market.
Yeah.
And to that point, investing in the stock market is one of the best ways to grow your money. I always encourage my clients and potential clients, as we're, having that conversation about engagement, is becoming an investor is better than being a loaner. And what I mean by that is, when you're investing in a company, you're investing in the market, you're becoming an owner, because you're owning a piece of that company.
Right.
A loaner, all that means is you put your money in a savings account that earns 0.05% that the bank takes out and lends to folks at a 6-7% interest rate, and they keep the difference.
Wow. Yes. They make the money.
Absolutely.
Using your money. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why it just makes sense to be an owner or investor versus a loaner.
I love that analogy. I love the way you just put that. And, I listened to a couple of different podcasts and different shows, Earn Your Leisure, Ian Dunlap, and
them guys are doing a great job, by the way.
They really are. I mean, breaking it down to the levels where even I can understand it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, they're doing a good job educating. But he talks about making sure that your money has little baby money. You know what I mean? Like your money multiplies and just keeps becoming, more money and more money, which is what you just talked about. And what you just hit on is real powerful, because you put your money in the bank, and the bank takes your money and they invest it and they loan it, like you said. and they get the game.
They do what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Here's the kicker. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you good. You good.
If you need to borrow money, they're going to charge you the interest that they would have charged someone. And they're not going to give you a friends and family discount because you deposit your money in the bank. They're going to charge you the same market rate. So that makes no sense.
Right. Exactly. Yes, sir. You know, cut the middleman out, the middle person out, and do it yourself. You know, so if you're talking to someone basically to get them going and get them started, what do you suggest as far as just getting going? You know, advisors such as yourself, a coach such as yourself, or, you know, apps online that you can download apps, and how do you even advise picking a stock, or, you know, going with a mutual fund? What would you advise for the basic getting going?
The first thing I would recommend is, you know, I would recommend your listeners to speak with a licensed financial professional. Okay. Yeah. Don't talk to your uncle who runs a meat packing company.
Yeah.
You don't ask him about a stock. Don't ask him about a bond. That's not his forte. Now, he may be knowledgeable, but again, that's not his forte. If you're sick, you go to a doctor. If you need legal advice, you go to a lawyer. They're licensed. They're trained specifically in that area.
Yes, sir.
So the first thing would be to speak with a licensed financial professional.
Sure.
Then the other is, you know, if they're comfortable with, you know, going through that information, there are plenty of resources online. You could do Google search. When we were in college, we didn't have Google like that. No. So it's a wonderful tool. You know, it definitely, you know, take you down some rabbit holes. So you have to be mindful of that.
Yes, it will.
There can be some misleading information, but again, it's still a valuable tool to get, you know, for the do-it-yourselfers, the self-taught, to get some information. But I would always recommend start with having a conversation with a licensed financial professional.
Yeah. That's real good advice. And once again, you know, from my podcast and reading these particular books, and one of the things I talk about with my kids is, and my wife and myself, the rule I try to have, because I'm very basic in the investment and stock market, but I am in the stock. I'm in the game, so to speak. And I try to start with everything I use every day. I want to be an owner of that company. We use Apple phones. Hey, let's own some Apple, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Business. We wear Nikes around. Let's get some Nike stock. You know,
Absolutely.
So I tried to keep it to the basics.
That's sound advice. That's sound advice.
Be an owner. You know, you really can say, because when you invest in the stock market and you buy a share of a stock, you are an owner of that company.
Absolutely. And I'll even take it one step further. You know, so a lot of licensed professionals, you know, this is something for your listeners as they're considering, you know, he suggests to talk to a licensed professional. Okay, I'll do that. But also consider that each professional may have a specialty, or they may have a certain investment class that they recommend to their clients versus others. For me, and for my practice, I always recommend investing in mutual funds. Reason being, the mutual funds, what it is really just a pool of money that the professional money managers, these large investment companies put, you know, they pool monies from you and I together to invest in these companies. Also, it gives us the ability to invest in mutual fund can have anywhere from 80 to 120 companies. So it gives us the ability to invest in that many companies. Consider, you know, most middle income families may not have the right amount of money to invest in 80 companies individually because of the cost per share. And, you know, again, that's another topic for your listeners. But if you can invest in a bucket that has 80 to 120 companies, and you own a piece of each of those companies, that makes a world of difference. So it gives you the ability to, one, diversify your investments. Like, you know, grandma used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, exactly.
That goes a long way.
Yep.
But also, you know, so it gives you diversification. That's the first thing. But it also is a low cost of entry in getting into the investment game.
Yes. Yeah, man, that's real good sound advice there, Dave. And I'm glad you touched on the mutual funds, because I'm a believer in mutual funds. Like you said, limit your exposure, your liability, spreads it all out. So if one company's doing well, another one's not. One company's up, another one's down. It kind of balances out. So
Yeah,
that's great
also something.
information.
Yeah, also to add too, investing in mutual fund, you also get access to brilliant minds, because now you get access to folks who look at computer screens all day and they track the market.
Yeah.
Now, the average person may not have the time nor the mental capacity to sit in front of a computer and watch the ups and downs of the market.
Your boy.
Yeah. So, that's something to consider. You have access to a lot of brain power when you hire a money manager or a investment management company, to look for these 80 to 120 companies out there to put into a mutual fund to invest and reap the rewards from that.
Yeah, that's really good. Hey, I want to just chat on one other thing as we're talking about stock markets, and obviously, a lot of it's out of my depth, but that's why I got the professional on with me to correct me when I'm out of bounds, or to help me out. So, in addition to that, one of the things where I failed early on was I wasn't at work with your 401 of K, and that I said that right? 401k?
401k, yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's like a 403b, because I'm nonprofit organization.
Yeah, it would be a 403b for the nonprofit organization.
Thank you. I wasn't taking advantage of the full percentage that I could be giving or putting into that account. Yep. And subsequently wasn't getting the matching that I should have been getting from the company. So just real quick, if you could speak to people taking advantage of their retirements that they have and putting in and trying to get to that max percentage.
Absolutely. That really, a couple things. One, you definitely want to find out what type of retirement plan or investment account that your company offers, because as we talked about, nonprofit, they would have a 403b. Your private sector, they would have a 401k. They're basically the same thing. They just have different tax codes attached to them, but they're basically the same thing.
Right.
And so with that, each organization, well, I shouldn't say each, there are some that don't, but most organizations, they'll match an employee's contribution. So for example, I've worked with American Express where they would match 6% of my contribution. So what I advise clients is, one, find a way to take advantage of that additional 6% that can be going into your retirement account to be used at a later date.
Yes, sir.
Now it's gonna cause you to, one, live off a smaller amount per month, because now you're gonna have to give up 6%. Yeah. But again, it's gonna benefit you in the long term because you're paying your future self.
Yes.
So
love that.
You contribute that 6%. Tell the company, hey, Brian is putting in 6%, so we have to put in 6%. You have 12% going into your account every pay period.
Yep.
As long as you're with that company. That's golden.
Beautiful. Yes. And if you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah, and I tell my clients, I don't believe in leaving money on the table. That's a sin all in itself.
Yeah.
But again,
yes, sir.
The company encourage you, and a lot of companies are taking this the sense of responsibility as it pertains to helping their employees save for retirement, where they're encouraging these contributions so they can match, and it benefits the company. There's some tax benefits that they get from the IRS, but that's irrelevant compared to what you can benefit from.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly correct, man. So that's real good information. Thank you, sir. Hey, so as we move on from, talking stock market, and going to the next topic, I know there's some people right now that are a little hesitant to invest. I'm watching the stock market. I see people pulling money and going to cash, and I was having a conversation with my youngest son, and I quoted Warren Buffett when he says, when it's blood in the streets, that's when you make your money. That's when you're out buying. That's when you're accumulating your shares at a discounted price.
Absolutely.
And that really is kind of where we are right now. So, how do you feel about that? And are you advising your clients to sell, to buy? You know, you don't have to give all the secrets away, but you know, what are you thinking about?
No, that's cool.
Market
I don't mind giving the secrets away. I can't take it all. I can't take when my time is up. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're a good man.
So with that, what I always recommend, there's never a good time than the present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I advise clients, I advise your listeners and folks who follow your podcast, don't time the market. That's a losing proposition.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know when the market is going to present discounts to us and present additional value. We don't know.
Yeah. Right.
So what I always recommend, unless someone has a lump sum investment and there's some things that we can do to help them, you know, take advantage of the opportunities in the market at that time, I always recommend to clients, if they're doing monthly investments, to dollar cost average into the market. Yeah. And so basically what that means is you look at your budget, and again, this is all part of the planning process.
Yes.
So you look at your monthly budget, you look at how much you can commit per month towards your retirement goal, and you invest that amount every month. That allows you to eliminate time in the market, trying to predict when it's going to be low enough to purchase. Right. And what it does, it takes advantage of the highs and lows of the market, because there are going to be some good days, some bad days. But ultimately, long term, we want to make sure that, you know, there are a lot more highs than lows, which, yes, sir, you know, history shows us that that is the case.
Yes, sir.
And so with dollar cost averaging, when you put in, let's say $100 per month, if the market is high, you buy less shares. If the market is low, you buy more shares. And then over time, your cost per share is a lot higher than you trying to time market.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I really like that.
And plus, it gives you a peace of mind. It takes the emotion out of the game.
Yeah.
Because we could be our own worst enemy sometimes.
Right up in here, you know, trying to overthink, and like you said, and it's one of the comments that I think about often is time in the market. Time in the market beats trying to time the market.
That is golden right there. That is absolutely golden right there.
Yeah. So, you know, let me ask you as we wrap up on that.
Yep.
Am I doing the right thing right now by buying up cheap stock?
Yeah, when you're buying, well, cheap quality stock.
Cheap. Thank you. That's why I had you on right there. That's the key.
Because there's a lot of cheap stocks out there.
Yeah. So like, for example, and you're not telling anyone to buy anything, and I'm not telling anyone to buy anything. Yep. But for example, I'm looking at Amazon that was at 3,200 probably a month ago, and it's at 2,100 a share today. You know, that's down probably 50%, you know, in a month's time or a month and a half. Is that sound investing, you know, getting in at that level?
Oh yeah, of course. Like, you know, when you start looking at stocks in particular, again, I'm not making any investment recommendations. I want to make sure to put that discllaimer out there.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
I don't want the SEC or FINRA knocking on my door and say, "Hey, you giving unsolicited investment advice? We need to have a conversation."
Yeah. It's just two buddies talking.
That's it. And people are just happen to overhear what we're talking.
Exactly. You know, and hopefully at some point there'd be a lot of people.
Yeah, you know it. So with that, you know, you always want to look at the company. If it's a good company, you know, for example, Amazon is not going anywhere. Right. They're one of the largest companies in the world. Right. You know. Right. So the value today is a little less than what it was yesterday. Okay. And if someone is comfortable and they have the money to invest, by all means, invest in the company. Yeah. You know. But invest in something. Right. Because again, you know, depending on what their financial goals are as it relates to investing, you know, you got to get your market in the game in order for it to grow and do something.
Exactly. Yes, sir. I love that. You know, get in the game, you know, invest in something, and you're going to learn along the way the ups and downs. Cause I mean, I've lost and I've won, you know, so, but everything is a learning lesson. So I like that advice.
And another thing too is, you know, when folks are considering investing in the market, they also want to consider their risk tolerance. Because, you know, there are so many different types of investment, but each investment has its own risk scale, so to speak. Whereas, you know, one investment can be a roller coaster ride, which some folks may not be comfortable with it. But then another investment can be just a ride through the park.
Yeah, easy breezy. Yeah.
Exactly. So that, that's something that your listeners should consider as well.
Yeah. And that's really why it goes back to also, fortunately for me, I have people and good friends like yourself, but it goes back to having someone that's an expert in finance, a coach, an advisor, such as yourself, that can give sound quality information and guidance, and don't rely on. Exactly. Yeah, man. So, as we move away from the stock market, people, if you're not letting your money work for you, you're missing out. So, and that's the premise basically of the stock market, letting your money work for you. Yeah. Now, as we move on from that, we can talk about this. A good segue for me is, like I said, I put my money into the crypto market, and right now it's down. But that always in the back of my mind, like you said, money that you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
Because that's outside of my rainy day fund money that I keep, my wife and I keep for things that will pop up. We have that money set aside for things that happen in life, as we don't know what life will bring to us. So when we talk about rainy day money and having cash in reserve, what are your thoughts on that? What do you advise people? What's a good level?
So what I always recommend first, I don't call it a rainy day fund. I call it an emergency fund, because there will always be an emergency.
Yeah.
Everything is an emergency. Hey man, I got an emergency I got to take care of. Okay, how much you need? I've gotten that request so many times. I'm telling you, man. It's like, man, another emergency?
How many we gonna have?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Even for myself, I've been fortunate to have reserves set aside to where something happened and I'm like, oh, I have this money set aside that I forgot about, which was the intention, but I was able to pull and get some things figured out.
Yes, sir.
So with that, years ago, I used to always recommend at least having 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. Whatever your monthly bills are, have that much set aside. But with the way things are moving in this world and in life today, I recommend to have 3 to 6 months of of whatever it takes to maintain your lifestyle. Because when you think about it, folks, even if they're out of work, they may still want to take their family out to the movie.
Yeah, right.
They may want to have that one dinner per month just to get out the house and just enjoy family time.
Yeah,
that's going to cost money.
Right.
So if you 100%. Take away from the fund that's supposed to take care of your expenses, then what do you have to take care of family time?
Yes. Yeah.
So, I always recommend to clients, let's take a look at what it takes to maintain their lifestyle on a per month basis. And that's the amount we set aside on have at least 3 to 6 months of that amount, set aside in the savings account. Just, it may not be earning anything, but it's there.
It's there. Yeah, exactly. And, I joke with my wife about, I call it rainy day under the mattress, but obviously keep it in the bank there. But yeah, man, these are tools and things that I'm learning along the way. And that's real good advice. What do you suggest? Somebody's hearing this and saying, man, I'm paycheck to paycheck, man. I can't even barely, pay my bills. How can I be expected to have 3 to 6 months? I mean, where do they start? $10, $5? Where do they start?
They can start with $1. Okay. It really all depends. The one thing, what I always tell folks and tell clients is that, there's nothing that I do that they couldn't do on their own. All they're using me for is as an accountability partner.
I like that.
So we set a plan. We set a financial plan. We know, okay, we want to be able to retire at this age and this year and also have this amount saved. Okay, we know we need to have this amount of life insurance. We need to have this amount in cash reserves. How am I going to, how am I going to handle the trials and tribulations of life that will allow me to stay on course?
Yep.
That's where an accountability partner comes in, such as myself as a financial coach and advisor. And so what I always recommend is I tell folks, take a look at how you're living. You may have to make some sacrifices, and you're going to have to change. And you have to be willing to change in order to at least have some chance of hitting that goal.
Right. Yeah.
So it's gonna take looking at their habits.
Right.
A lot of it can be, what is their relationship with money? What are, how do they handle disruptions in their life, because that can affect your money.
Right. 100%.
So, and then, you look at all these different factors and you say, okay, how much can they put aside?
Yeah.
And let's set a goal. Let's say, okay, we set a 1-year goal to have at least 1 month of savings set aside. Okay.
Right.
At least we have a target. We're putting money away. Even if we get to that year and we don't have that amount, we know, okay, we're on track. So let's adjust. You can always move the target.
Yes, sir. Yep. You're right.
You could rig the game for your benefit.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. You're right.
And so it's just really just having that conversation. At least have a plan. You start wherever you can, and then from there you start making those necessary adjustments to do a little bit more.
Yeah. I love that. And that statement of start wherever you can, that's really key. And I fell victim to this myself, where times are hard, you're making ends meet. But then when you really look at it and say, okay, well, I spent, $5 at Starbucks. Do I really need that? That could have been that's $5 right there that I can put towards my, what I mean? And people, we do this we don't even realize how much money we spend in incidentals and little things, every single day. So take some dive in on that. And
and to your point, one of the things I always recommend to clients, have a little buffer, and don't be so hard on yourself, because again, there may be a time where you're just running errands and like, let me just duck into a Starbucks and spend $5 for a $1 cup of coffee.
Exactly. And it's not that good.
If that's the case, just go ahead and do it. And don't feel guilty about it. Because we can beat ourselves up and just be down in the dumps about it. But if you create a little buffer in your financial plan and your monthly budget, it's okay.
Right. So don't be.
Now, if it becomes a bit, if it becomes a habit where you're doing it like several times a day,
that's a problem.
then it's like, hey, hold on now.
When
I said a buffer, I didn't mean don't do 3 trips per day, 7 days a week.
Everything in moderation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's great. And all sound advice, and we could talk for a long time about finances, and I could be picking your brain, for days, but
hey, man, I love talking about this stuff.
Yes, sir. I mean, here's the funny thing is, like, well, we need money, so we should learn to love to talk about it and be open in talking to our kids about it, to our wife about it, to our husbands about it.
Absolutely.
And not be secretive and not be embarrassed. And,
there's nothing to be, I tell folks all the time, there's nothing to be embarrassed about talking about finances. I've heard folks over the years say money isn't everything. Well, money does a lot of things.
Yes, it does.
The good book also says the love of money is the root of all evil. You don't have to love money, but you can love what it can do for you.
100%.
If you're a good person, you'll do good things.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Money will make you more of who you are. And you're exactly right. People confuse that because they think it's the money is the root of all evil, but it's the love of money. It's in the pursuit, the love of money is the root.
At the detriment of everything else is where the problem lies.
100%. Hey, Dave, as we exit, man, if you had, to wrap up pillars, let's say 3 to 5 pillars that you say are must-dos in order to have a sound financial house, give me those, please.
Well, I'll give you 3. I can give you 3 right up the top. Because I can really go more. I can give you more than 5, but I'll give you 3 for the sake of time. One, the first thing I would recommend to your listeners is, have a plan. have a financial plan. Somebody's financial plan may be different than the next, and that's okay. But it's the same as run your own race. Don't worry about the next person. Have a plan and really have that plan that allows you to live the life you truly want to live.
Sure.
Okay. So that's the first thing. One, have a plan. Two, have a financial coach. Because as I mentioned in our conversation, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. And I've been guilty of it. And even as much as I know this topic, I'm well versed in the industry, I have a coach.
Yeah.
Now, mind you,
that's big, people.
My coach don't tell me, help me. They don't develop my plan. I develop my own plan, but I let them know what that plan is, so they hold me accountable to that.
Right. Yeah, accountability.
So that's exactly. And the third is be flexible. Life happens. Yeah. That financial plan needs, it needs to be dynamic. You need to be flexible enough to adjust with what life throws your way.
Yeah. And don't be hard on, like you said, don't be hard on yourself.
Don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's really good. Have a plan, get yourself a financial professional, and be flexible. And don't be hard on yourself. Yeah, and then one last thing, if you were recommending a book for someone to pick up and read to get the basics and get educated financially, which book would that be and why?
Oh man.
I put you on the spot.
No, listen, I'm like, where do I begin? I can literally walk to my library and pull tons of books.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. A very good book, and this is it's quite a few that come to mind, but I'll give you a couple. One book I would definitely recommend, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes, sir.
Timeless classic by Robert Kiyosaki. Another book is the ABCs of Making Money.
I like that.
Okay. I forget the author's name, but there are two authors, Dennis Colvier, and I forgot the second author. I can definitely send you the name of the second author. And then the other is another classic, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, sir. So
I would definitely recommend those three to start. Again, there's so many more, but those are three that come to mind as it relates to money and the way you think about money.
Yes. Yeah, that's key. And so I feel pretty good because I've read two of those three. And if I'm reading books that Mr. Dave McPherson is saying we should be reading, then I feel like I'm on the right track, so to speak.
I'll send you the ABCs of Making Money. It's a very good book.
Yeah, man.
A lot of nuggets in there.
It sounds good. I appreciate that. Hey, as we exit, if people want more information, I don't know the rules to financial investing, if it can go through state lines or, anything, but if people, are you available if they want to reach out to you, email or website or anything you want to, push forward, man, let's do it.
Absolutely. So if folks wanted to reach out to me, just to give you my professional affiliation, I'm a district leader with Primerica Financial Services, run an independent office. I'm based in Atlanta, but I'm licensed in several states. One of the best ways is they can go to my website, www.primerica.com/David McPherson. And they can read, they have access, they'll have my contact information as well as my email address. And also there's a lot of information that they can pull off the website just to help educate themselves. And if they wanted to schedule some time, they can find a time on my calendar to book a 30-minute consultation.
Yes, sir. I love it. Hey, my man, my brother, thank you for the time. Thank you for
being quite welcome.
Come on, sharing the education and sharing the knowledge, man. And hey, a year from now, we're going to do it again when we grow, when the channel and we grow even bigger, man. So, hey, man, I appreciate it.
Be happy to.